I think anyway, we are doing lots of stuff together.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Welcome to the third recording from the Token2049 for Coordinated. We have Othentic founder Yarden. You have seen in Coordinated like pretty lot of content we did around Othentic. Recently, Yash from their team took a very great session about how to build an AVS. We haven't made it live, but if you want, just let us know. We can make that public. Pretty great comprehensive session of 30 minutes where you can actually learn the basics of AVS and how to build one. Jürgen is like a friend of ours to us. He has been to the podcast in the initial few days. Authentic has been very supportive in terms of pushing us a lot. We love them. And yeah, I think we'll just have some candid chats about AVSs and stuff and what Authentic is up to. Thanks, Yarden. Thanks for coming again and doing this.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. You're doing a great job, and I love to see your progress. I think we initially met at, I think it was Bangkok.
Yeah, in Bangkok.
Yeah.
That time it was not even there.
Yeah, there was no coordinate. You just told me, look, we want to do some stuff around the Eigen ecosystem. We are thinking about like doing podcasts, and this is, incredible to see what you guys achieved in such a short time period and your position in the ecosystem. This is great, and thank you for that.
Awesome. I think the credit goes to the projects like you and a few others who is like shipping a lot like every week or every month, so that we can also chime in on the updates. We can also learn from it. We can have the guests so that we can actually encourage people or tell people that, hey, this Eigen is just not just a fancy place or just not a new infra, and we can just build stuffs out there. Yep. I think thanks to all of you.
Completely agree, and thank you.
Awesome. I think we'll start this talk where we have kind of left it in the last time. I think the last time when we talked, it was like around 5 months back. And it was like 2 quarters after that. Many updates has come from Othentic. The latest being the multi-chain AVS shipment. I think the MPC has also gone pretty good amount of traction in the Eigen ecosystem and beyond that. Just want to know if you can like kind of take us through all the major updates which came from Othentic in the last 2 quarters.
Yep. Cool. Top of our mind is to provide builders with more capabilities to build much more robust systems, okay? And the MCP is a good example. The multi-chain component is a great example. We also released like a leader election trade-off, mechanism trade-offs. So, our goal is to provide the ecosystem with the right tools arsenal, and skill set and components to allow them to achieve their own goals. Okay. So what we are building is some sort of like extension, right? We have our stack, we have our AVS development framework, but we want to transform it to be much more usable for a wider range of use cases. Okay. So yeah, we released the MCP interface. Essentially, it's a consensus-based MCP interface because the underlying AVS is consensus, right? It's consensus-based. So we have released this interface to allow AVSs to communicate with agents. Okay, so now agents, the ones that will deploy this native integration with the MCP, now will be able to allow agents to communicate with the underlying protocol. So let's take Redstone, okay, for example, an Oracle system, right? So instead of having like, DAXs or the end user or like dApps to communicate and fetch relevant off-chain data from the Oracle, now agents can also do that. So by releasing these components, we allow Redstone to be agent compatible. Okay, allow agents to communicate with oracles. Okay, and this can be applied to any other system. Oracle is just one example. It's the most straightforward, but it's just one example. We released these components to be extendable and generic, which means that anyone can use it. Any AVS that building with the Othentic stack can use this MCP interface and make the AVS agent compatible. So this was a major release. I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I think right afterwards, we released the multi-chain components. So till now, basically, AVSs used to be completely siloed to one chain. Okay, so you want to build AVS, you need to, let's maybe go like a 2-step back. AVS is a weird creature, right? It's not an L1, it's not an L2. It has off-chain execution, off-chain components. But some of the contracts needs to be deployed on some chain to verify the off-chain execution. So far it was just one chain. So now, till now, it was like a one-to-one approach. You build one AVS and it can interact and communicate with one chain only. But now we release the multi-chain component. So AVSs can operate in multi-environment, in multi-chain simultaneously. So they build the logic once, okay? They build the execution just one time, and they can natively integrate with any EVM compatible chain. Right now we support, I think, around 12 or 15 different chains. Getting back to the Redstone and Oracle example, now Redstone can propagate price feeds to 15 chains simultaneously and not build the logic per chain. So this is the first time that anyone has this or developed these multi-chain capabilities. And again, this is completely open. So any AVSs that are being built using the Othentic stack can use it. Other than that, we released the leader election.
I think just want to pause you before.
Yeah, of course.
If I understand correctly, let's say I think for Eigen itself, I think as you mentioned the example of oracles, agents and AI is a pretty big unlock, right? I think we just end on a cycle of agents, but I am sure that in later half of the year, maybe early 2026, agent cycle will come up. So as you was mentioning, the one-click deployment to multi-chains, let's say I build an agent which is verified by Eigen's crypto economic security, and it kinds of farms different chains, right? So let's say I built an agent as an AVS. Now using Othentic, I can I wrote the application logic once, and if I just click here deploy, I can get access to all these 15 chains. Like, is it how it is getting unlocked?
Let's take a feasible example. Okay, we are working with Giza. Okay, Giza is building the base layer for DeFi agents. So not necessarily like if you want to build the agent itself as an AVS, rather if you want to build like a platform to spin up DeFi agents, for instance. Okay, so Giza is a great example. With that, basically we allow Giza to operate in any chain. So those DeFi agents can leverage different yield opportunities from Base, from Polygon, from Optimism, okay, from Arbitrum, for Mentor, okay, all simultaneously. So now they have these native components within their wider infra, which they can use in order to operate in basically all EVM comparable chains, and not being siloed to one chain only.
Yeah, I think is it this mechanism is kind of which EigenLayer, I think I've heard Shriram telling a lot of times that okay, EigenLayer is a modular by its nature. Is it something specific to EigenLayer itself, or Othentic has done something on its own stack to make things like going multi-chain in a few clicks?
So this is something that we have developed from scratch. And this is part of the Othentic architecture and part of our design. I know that a lot of folks from the ecosystem ask for this type of capabilities. We knew it's needed right from the beginning. We put the right development resources towards that, and now it's live. Everybody can use it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're talking about the other updates, which I think we were just mentioning, I cut you short. I think we can continue from there. The other Othentic updates. Yeah,
of course. We are working with some intent solvers, AVSs and networks. So it's like one category. You can use intent solvers for a chain abstraction, to unified liquidity across chain, for workflow automation, Okay, but the category itself is intent solvers. As part of the wider infra, okay, nodes needs to be elected to execute the intent, basically to execute the solver itself. And they cannot use like a traditional leader election mechanism to choose the leader, to the node, the peer that execute this task. They need to use what we call leaderless auction. Okay, so basically the nodes in the network are bidding. Okay, who would take this task? Okay, who would execute the intent? And again, this is something that whoever builds intent solver will need. And we, as a company, we don't want to have each team build it on its own. Okay, similar to the MCP interface, similar to the multi-chain. We want to be the one that make this standardization. Okay, so everybody can use it. And we also did it with a leaderless auction mechanism and made it available for everybody to use.
Awesome. I think we can move on to another key update is MCP, which you guys have shipped. I think if you can take us through a little bit of that, like what are the key developments have been gone there, and what is like kind of like current status of the MCP development of the Authentic stack? Yeah,
I think I mentioned it a bit before, but yeah, of course. So. Okay, so we've built this generic MCP interface, so AVSs can natively integrate this interface as part of their wider system to allow agent to communicate with the underlying system. Okay, basically makes AVS agent compatible. Okay, so we have mentioned the Oracle and Redstone use cases. Basically, that now, I don't know, DeFi agent from Giza or like agent from Tria, that unified liquidity, can directly interact with Redstone to fetch verifiable data. Okay, fetch verifiable price feeds. All right. Again, we don't want each AVS to build it on its own devices, with its own resources, and this is why we develop it on our own and made it like very generic and very versatile and agnostic to any type of use case. So another component, it's another extension that is natively integrated with the Authentic stack, so everybody can use it. Now, this is still like under the radar. We haven't announced it yet, but we are working with one of the biggest TE network, which integrate the MCP interface with the AVS. So AVSs can basically work in a trusted execution environment and make a private execution with MCP and agents. So this is like another huge unlock that we will be releasing soon.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's kind of give us a roundup of what Authentic has been doing in the past 2 quarters since we talked last time. And one thing I want to ask you again, I think which we discussed last time, and I tried to get it from mainly the infra builders of iGives. That is like, why AVS? Like, I want to frame the question a little bit better. Why the question is coming of why AVS? I think we are again at a place against like the price moves the development and it's vice versa. Since the market is relatively down, people are questioning fundamentals and stuff. And this one question again, I think starting from Ethereum, that hey, I think we have been focused enough on infra. There needs to be more apps, more consumers. But I think it's again a chicken and egg problem. Like if you don't have advanced infra or new kind of infra, the new level of apps won't be unlocked. On that front, I think personally, okay, fine, we are in the Eigen ecosystem. We might be vocal about that. Hey, we need AVS, we need crypto economic security. But when I talk with people, or if I see people writing threads and other insightful stuff from a different angle, they continuously mention that I think Solana, they're not very decentralized, but they're very consumer friendly. Just one click you can build something. You have a ready-made consumer base and all this money being flown there. Eigen provides a new kind of infra, right? And it has significant developer hurdles to get started. Obviously, like protocols like Authentic is making it easier. But again, for a builder, not just for a hackathon project, the why needs to be clear. Why we need cryptoeconomic security? Why we need to build on Eigen? I specifically want to ask you this question is because like I think 20, 30 or maybe more AVSs have been built on you. You're like, I think you are one of the most active protocols on Eigen itself, which has been used for many protocols. And to build on AVSs, you have talked with people, they requested you, hey, I want to build an AVS. How you are seeing, like, we have so many infras, different providing different kind of things. Let's say also like say movement, right? Not movement per se, move, Aptos suite. They have their own set of offerings. Starknet, they have their own set of offering. Ethereum, Solana, and Eigen is also different kind of infra. And like there are like as we are discussing roll-ups, AI agents, and all different kind of stuffs are being possible on Eigen. But what is your kind of pitch to people, or in what way people are getting interested that hey, I want to build an AVS?
Yes.
What will be your like detailed answer or some insights on that?
All right, that's a great question. The biggest unlock of EigenLayer and Authentic is off-chain service. Okay. Throughout the recent years, we have witnessed the rise of different theses. Okay, application specific, general purpose, monolithic versus modular, the roll-up centric approach, and so on and so forth. Okay, and today, or before Authentic, we had basically two type of frameworks, okay, to build distributed system or blockchains. Okay, we have L1 framework like Cosmos SDK and Polkadot parachains, okay, where you can build like application specific blockchains. On the other hand, we have the L2 frameworks, okay, which is the OP stack and Arbitrum Orbit and ZK Sync, right? They provide the ability to build rollups, okay? So better scalability, higher throughput, lower cost structure, and so on and so forth. But, okay, essentially, those L1 and L2 frameworks, they provide companies with the ability to build blockchains, okay? Those blockchains, okay, they come onto consensus, they come onto agreement on the state of the ledger, okay? On transaction execution, right? Alice, Bob, transaction, okay, blockchain, agree on the new state of the ledger or state transition. What Authentic provide is the ability to have off-chain execution, okay, and on-chain validation, okay? If you want to build a robust software, right, a resource-intensive software, very complex system, it cannot live on-chain, okay? So execution must be done off-chain, all right? We want to basically validate it in a decentralized fashion, okay? So we need to make the validation on-chain through a network of nodes, okay? So essentially, so far, we want to power real-world use cases, okay? So real-world use cases require great apps, okay? And great apps, they require great off-chain middleware, okay? And this is exactly the shift that we see right now, this new paradigm, this new evolution of Web3 services, okay? Of off-chain services, essentially. So, and you can take a look on our website. By the way, we also released the Authentic Hub, basically the interface to see the Authentic ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that's pretty great, like the dashboard, where you have the total stake and GPU powers and all these things.
Task log, it's super useful for everyone, and this is great.
Yeah, I think we pretty much use it like a lot of the times.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's pretty great thing. Yeah.
What I was saying is that, okay, so we see this new paradigm, right? The L1, L2 frameworks, and now we have the Authentic framework to build this verifiable off-chain services. And basically, most importantly, how can we apply complex system design onto AVS or onto decentralized foundation at scale? And this is exactly where Authentic take place. So I will give you a few examples, okay, to make it much more feasible, okay? Chainlink, okay? Chainlink, it's not a blockchain, okay? Chainlink has off-chain execution, off-chain computation, and a network of nodes that agree on the price fields, okay? Bridges, like XLR, like Wormhole, like Layer 0, they all have off-chain components, okay? The graph indexing protocol has off-chain indexing service, but it's not a blockchain, okay? It's a network of nodes that agree on a certain execution. So this is like the bedrock. This is the fundamental of crypto, right? All of those companies, right? Oracles, bridges, indexing services. And now with Othentic and Eigen, you can build much more robust off-chain middleware, okay? And this is exactly like the missing pieces, okay, as I see it. And this basically funneled down into like the use cases that are being built with Othentic, okay? So Redstone, right? We mentioned Redstone, and we mentioned Giza for DeFi agents, Phoenix, FAG coprocessor. This is an alpha, by the way. So maybe don't publish it just yet. And Skate doing first finality and AMM, right? And Human Network using it for identity and key store. Okay, Human Network works with like user facing with the end users. Van working on exploit prevention. We are working with still under the radar some financial systems, other middlewares like Tria for intent solvers, the guys from Plug doing workflow automation. So again, the shift from building like a whole complex blockchain system to building off-chain service, focus on the business logic, focus on the logic, focus on your product, and the Othentic stack basically abstract away all of the underlying complexities around consensus and operators and attestation, all of the stuff that builders don't want to deal with. So this is how I see.
I think on off-chain compute, if I just want to get a little bit more clarity,
Yes.
said roll-ups, right? Roll-ups are also type of off-chain compute.
Okay.
Or like giving as an example, let's say oracles, right? I can just have one big computer pulling data, and then I can serve it to a network, and then I can generate the proof of me providing data, and that proof I can post in Ethereum and say I have just provided the data, right? I think that's what most oracles or most L2s are doing at this moment. How this off-chain compute, which is kind of EigenLayer is enabling, is different than the current off-chain compute, which is already there in the market in forms of rollups, oracles, bridges, and all the other stuffs.
We can argue that all of those networks are essentially what we define as AVSs. Okay, but Chainlink built their own network, boots their own crypto economic security, build the staking mechanism, and so on and so forth. You mentioned rollup before. Rollup has an off-chain component, which is the batch, or basically the transaction batching. But again, this is like not for like a custom unique execution. This is essentially for transaction execution. Okay, so rollup does not agree on any like arbitrary off-chain execution, just on transaction execution. Wormhole, Layer 0, they all bootstrap the network on their own. They have peers, they have nodes that running the Wormhole software, okay, simultaneously. And they have off-chain components, okay? They have raised a shit ton amount of money to build those, you know, complex systems. But now we have a way to facilitate this process, okay? EigenLayer to bootstrap the crypto economic security, and Othentic as the development framework to build such systems, okay? And when you decrease this overhead and, you know, unnecessary resources towards building the underlying system, the underlying complex components, builders can now focus on what they do best, okay, which is building innovation. Okay, and this is the exact shift that we see right now. Yeah.
I think this is like one of the best explanations, to be very honest, about the core proposition of AVS, what EigenLayer unlocks, and why and how we should use Authentic. I think this will be very helpful. Like this part of the clip, like for talking with devs, talking with founders, or random like KOLs and stuff. Why to build on Eigen? Thanks on that. I think coming on to the one big update which kind of EigenLayer had recently, the slashing update, right? And I think with slashing being on mainnet, the complexity went multifold, because like with Ethereum, the slashing was simple. If you don't produce blocks, the state capital will be slashed. But now with EigenLayer, like each AVS, I just have this mental model that think of each AVS as each new Ethereum. Like it need not be a blockchain, but it can be any stuff. Like Ethereum's main job was to produce blocks, do transaction execution. But now EigenLayer is giving you a framework, and Authentic is an extension to that. You can just think of any new application which is based on this distributed network, right? And like reading docs, thinking about this through myself, the slashing complexity will also gone up. Like initially it was just one case of slashing with Ethereum, but now there are n number of possibilities of slashing, which is like pretty complex. Like how is Authentic dealing that in the backend? Like is there some kind of frameworks which is there, or some kind of abstraction layer which are going to see, which will kind of simplify the slashing mechanism for the new AVSs or existing AVSs?
Simply put, yes. Not something that I can share right now, but behind the scene, we are working on some specialized modules. Okay, again, what I mentioned before, we don't want each team to build its own, info components. Okay, we don't want each team to build its own slashing conditions and slashing modules. Okay, we want to facilitate that and let them configure the right environment for them. Right? Slashing is not just slashing, it's like, slashing can be basically distributed based on a variety of events, right? If you familiar with Gasper, basically this is Ethereum consensus rules. So node can be slashed based on different parameters and events. Same goes for AVSs, because essentially AVS is a proof of stake network, just like Ethereum in some sense, right? It's with social consensus backed by crypto economic security, but it's a proof of stake system. So yeah, definitely slashing just introduced on mainnet, and this is a necessary shift. Okay, same goes to rewards. We can discuss rewards.
I think
the absence of reward, but slashing is necessary for us as an industry. This is the final piece in the puzzle. But slashing and distributing slashing events and audit the operator work to trigger slashing event. This is not an easy part. And on the other way around, why and how to punish a certain node based on a certain behavior or misbehavior. This is also like a complex part, and it's going to be partially unique per AVS. We want to abstract it away and provide, again, AVSs with a framework to define why and what they're going to slash on.
Awesome. I think that's like a crisp conversation amongst us between like the latest Authentic updates, why AVS and the slashing update. I think we'll obviously have more stuffs going on with Authentic, like better way to kind of onboard devs. And I think thanks Yarden again for doing this, and looking forward to all the latest updates which are coming from the Authentic protocol.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thank you.